Okay, so for most of us, music is not how we make a living, and we've got to make the most of the time we can actually devote to our project while we juggle our ambitions and our other time commitments. So, wouldn't it be great if there was a way we could just sit down at the desk and get to work straight away? My name's Eric, and this is the video series where we produce original music and troubleshoot along the way so we actually finish what we started. So in the last video, we talked about how to start generating ideas, and before we get into like what to do with those, I thought it was appropriate to set up our workspace to maximize our productivity. Yeah, so like I said before, this isn't our living, so we don't have all day to devote to this production, right? Like we've got other stuff to do. But the thing is, neither do the professionals. Even when I was a working musician, there were people whose output I'd look at and it blew my mind how they could be so consistent, and I couldn't come anywhere close to it. It was almost easier to think that there was this like God-gifted Midas touch that they had that I didn't, that they were somehow different. Felt better, and it almost let me off the hook. But I was fortunate enough to be given the opportunity to see these people in their environment and work with them, and what I learned was that that's completely wrong. The difference between them and myself in that circumstance wasn't, some sort of clairvoyance or anything like that. It was a respect for the time that they had and a high degree of confidence in their decisions. What I noticed in being in the room with some of these guys that I really looked up to was that everything they did was streamlined and focused and quick. Nobody wants a 10-hour studio session. It's expensive, it's exhausting, and by the end of it, you can't trust a single decision you make because your brain is mush. That's something that was lost on me in the context in, my 20s, but it's something that I'm really bringing home now with this project and how I can get every last drop out of the time I have and get that level of confidence in the decisions I make. Yeah, so as you can see, getting there as fast as possible is sort of the key here. So how do you do that? First things first, work time is work time. It's not check your emails time. It's not get distracted by your phone time. You have to focus. I'm not going to get into how to block away time through the week because you're a grown up, you can do that. But even if it's 20 minutes, it's quite a bit further than, nothing. And 20 minutes of music production on its own isn't all that impressive, but 20 minutes of music production every single day for even 6 months is actually quite an impressive body of work. So with that disclaimer and personal accountability out of the way, there are steps you can take to streamline your workflow in the form of presets and templates. Let's talk about that. So I use Reaper. I've been using Reaper for the last 10 years. It's my favorite, but this is easily applicable to any other software you might have. Hi, so this is video editor Eric, just letting you know that if you stick around, there's a bonus shortcut to all these shortcuts in just a second. So here we are in one of the sessions that I've been using for this project, and the idea behind the template is to just be able to jump in, not waste any time fiddling with guitar tones or mixing or anything like that, and just get to actually recording. And there are a few elements that are super important to have when you are building your writing template, and the first one is notes. So I like to have different notes or lyric ideas on the top, and I've done a hotkey for an empty item, so you just double click and then punch in whatever you want, click apply, ta-da, so that next time I go to this project, I'll have information about the ideas or where I was going with things. Moving on to drums, there are so many different drum libraries, and I'm of the opinion that you can't really have enough. But what I've done here for this purpose is find one that I think sounds pretty good, have it pre-mixed to where I like it, and it's fairly low CPU usage. That's really important when you have a template that's going to run on for a long time, that it doesn't kill your computer every time you plug it in. But I've got this already routed. All I got to do, press record, done. Right? Moving on, I've got my vocals, 3 different chains, different layers. That's all that's there for, but it's already, again, pre-mixed, ready to go. I've got the effects off to save CPU power, but moving on, different guitar tones. It's really important to have a tuner. Yeah, for obvious reasons, make sure your guitar is in tune. I'm just using Reaper's stock one. That works just fine. So yeah, I've got my lead tones, my rhythm tones already pre-mixed. Everything's already there for me. Bass, ta-da, ready to go. All I've got to do is press the record button. Different effects, and this is kind of a blank track just for arrangement purposes. Moving on. So as you can see, it's really streamlined, and it's what I need to get the idea down quickly. You're not going to be wanting to jump in here and fiddle with guitar tones or anything like that. I think I've said this 3 or 4 different times already, but really, it's just worry about the rest of it later. These aren't going to be finished tracks that you're working on in this space. These are bones that you're building into the bigger thing, right? You could do like I did and go in and find your drums and pre-mix them, get your guitar tones, pre-mix them, get that all ready. Or you could check out this template and everything is done for you. So my friend Alejandro over at reapertips.com has built this template for sale that he has incorporated pretty much everything we just talked about. He's got his notes track, drums, different effects sends, bass, different guitar tones, synths, lo-fi, all that stuff, and it's all mixed and routed properly. He's got his master bus done. You go to reapertips.com and you enter code ReaperFriend. He'll take $6 off this template for you. It's 25 bucks Canadian, so it's inexpensive. It's already all there. All you got to do is press record and get running. Alejandro's done a really good job with that. So if you don't have time to do this, or just want somebody that knows what they're doing to like build a template for you, he's already done it. So I would recommend checking that out if that sounds interesting. I don't really need to get into it all that much more than that. Really, the main points is the template is there to make it very easy for you to get to work quickly. So remember that. It's full on go mode writing. So once your template is set, I encourage you not to touch it. Just leave it alone. It's your workspace for the time being. So this week sort of got a bit ahead of me, and while I was able to keep up with the music goals and commitments that I had, I found it a lot more difficult to stay on top of the YouTube content thing. So I can understand that making these changes is difficult for everybody. Keep collecting voice notes and get acquainted with your new workspace. We'll see you in the next one.